Jack Reed kicked a piece of metal across the dusty ground and watched it skid to a stop near his small ship. The hot sun of Rust Point beat down on his back, making sweat run down his face. Once, he had been Captain Reed of the Alliance military. Now he was just Jack, a scrap collector on a forgotten planet. "Found anything good?" Meg Wilson called out. She walked over, wiping grease from her hands onto her already dirty pants. Meg was the best engineer Jack had ever met. The Alliance had been stupid to turn her away, because she didn't have the right papers. "Nothing much," Jack answered. "Just more junk." Tom Clark joined them, his tall frame casting a long shadow. "Well, I fixed the cooling system. Again. But we need new parts soon." Danny Harper ran up to the group, breathing hard. His eyes were wide with excitement. "Guys, you won't believe what just happened." "What is it?" Jack asked. "Big space battle, just beyond the moon. Alliance and Imperial ships blasting each other to bits." Danny waved his arms around to show explosions. "And guess what happens after a battle?" Jack felt a smile spread across his face. "Debris. Lots of debris." "Exactly." Danny nodded fast. "And it's heading our way. Some pieces are already entering the atmosphere." Meg's eyes lit up. "Fresh salvage. Good tech. Better than the rusty junk we've been finding," Tom added. Jack looked at their small ship. It wasn't much, just an old cargo hauler named the Collector. But it had a good hold for carrying salvage. "How long before the corporate cleanup crews arrive?" Jack asked. Danny shrugged. "Maybe 2 days. They're probably still filling out paperwork." "Then we move now," Jack decided. "Grab your gear. We have a small window to get the good stuff before those vultures show up." 6 hours later, the Collector floated among the remains of the space battle. Broken ships and scattered parts drifted all around them. Some pieces still glowed hot from weapon hits. "This is better than I thought," Tom said from the pilot's seat. "Must have been a big battle." Jack looked at the scanner. Several Alliance cruisers and at least one Imperial battleship. Stay alert. Some systems might still be active. Meg pointed at a large chunk of metal. "That's part of an Alliance ship engine. Very valuable." Danny whistled. "And that looks like an Imperial weapon battery. Intact too." "Let's start collecting," Jack ordered. "Tom, keep us steady. Meg and Danny, suit up with me for EVA." Soon, the three of them were outside, using their suits' thrusters to move between debris. They attached cables to the larger pieces so the Collector could reel them in. Jack moved carefully through the floating graveyard of ships. He had seen many battles during his time with the Alliance, but being among the aftermath was different. This was just waste now. Trash to some, treasure to others. As he worked, Jack spotted something strange. A small container, perfectly intact, drifting away from a destroyed Alliance science vessel. "That's odd," he muttered. He jetted over to it. The container was sealed tight with military-grade locks. No markings except for a small Alliance Science Division symbol. Jack's old military override codes wouldn't work on something this secure, but his curiosity was piqued. "Meg," he called over the radio. "I found something interesting. Can you come take a look?" When Meg arrived, she examined the container. "High security. Must be important. Can you open it?" Meg smiled behind her helmet visor. "Is space big? Give me 30 minutes back on the ship." The container sat on the table in the Collector's small common room. The crew gathered around while Meg worked on the locks. "Almost got it," she said, connecting wires from her tools to the container's panel. "These are serious security measures. Military grade, but with Science Division modifications. Whatever's inside must be valuable," Danny said, eyes fixed on the container. "Or dangerous," Tom added. With a soft click, the locks disengage. Meg looked up at Jack. "It's open." Jack nodded. "Let's see what we found." Inside was a smooth black sphere about the size of a human head. It sat in a custom-made cradle, surrounded by cooling systems and data ports. "What is it?" Danny asked, leaning closer. Meg carefully lifted the sphere. "It's an AI core. Very advanced, but not like any I've seen before." Jack's heart raced. During his military time, he had heard rumors about experimental AI systems. "Is it active?" "No," Meg answered. "It's in standby mode. Probably shut down during the battle." Tom looked worried. "If this belongs to the Alliance military, they'll want it back. We should dump it before they trace it here." As if answering Tom's words, the ship's comm system crackled to life. "Attention all vessels in the Rust Point system. This is Alliance Cruiser Defender. We are searching for sensitive military property lost during recent combat operations. Any information leading to recovery will be rewarded. Withholding or interfering with recovery efforts is punishable under Alliance Military Code Section 47. The message repeated. Jack turned off the speaker. "They're looking for this," he said, pointing at the sphere. "Then we definitely should get rid of it," Tom insisted. Meg shook her head. "Do you know how much this is worth? We could sell it to independent colonies that need protection from both the Alliance and Empire. Or we could use it ourselves," Danny suggested. They all looked at Jack. He stared at the black sphere, thinking hard. Just then, another message came through. This one was a general broadcast for the planet. "Attention Rust Point Colony. This is Governor Mills. Due to recent events, all salvage operations are hereby suspended. Alliance military vessels will arrive within 48 hours to secure the area. All unauthorized ships must return to surface immediately." The crew fell silent. That meant no more salvage trips. No more income. Jack looked at their haul from today. Good pieces, but not enough to last them long. Then he looked at the AI core. "I have an idea," he said slowly. "A crazy one." "Those are your best kind," Meg grinned. "We take all this salvage, plus whatever else we can gather quickly," Jack explained, "and instead of selling it, we use it." "Use it for what?" Tom asked. Jack's eyes gleamed with determination. "We build our own ship. A better one. One that can get us out of this system before the Alliance locks it down." "Build a ship? From scratch?" Tom looked doubtful. "That's impossible." Meg laughed. "Not from scratch. From salvage, it's possible. Difficult, but possible. With parts from both Alliance and Imperial ships," Danny added, getting excited. "That could actually work." "But not just any ship," Meg said, her mind already racing with ideas. "If we're using this AI core and weapons systems from the debris." She looked at Jack with fire in her eyes. "We could build a warship." Jack nodded slowly. "A warship built from trash. Our ticket to freedom." Tom still looked unsure, but Jack could see he was warming to the idea. "And if the Alliance comes looking for their AI before we're done?" Jack smiled. "Then we'll just have to work faster." The old warehouse on the edge of Rust Point's main settlement became their shipyard. Jack had traded their last good bottle of off-world whiskey to rent it for 2 months. It was big enough to hold the growing pile of salvage they collected and hide their work from curious eyes. "We need to move faster," Jack said as he helped Tom unload more debris from their latest salvage run. "The Alliance patrols are getting closer to the planet." Meg didn't look up from her work. She sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by parts and tools, with the black AI sphere in front of her. "You can't rush good engineering, Jack." "We might not have a choice," he replied. Danny burst through the door, grinning wide. "Got more power cells." And some guy at the trading post said an Imperial scout ship crashed on the far side of the hills. "No one's claimed it yet." Tom wiped sweat from his face. "That's too far. We'd need a ground vehicle." "Already handled," Danny said proudly. "Traded some of those Alliance food packs for an old rover. It's ugly, but it runs." Jack patted Danny's shoulder. "Good work. We'll check it out tomorrow." For 3 weeks, they worked day and night. The ship slowly took shape in the middle of the warehouse. It was ugly, a patchwork of different hull plates, some still showing Alliance blue or Imperial red paint. Meg had somehow made the various systems talk to each other, though sometimes it required what she called creative wiring. They named it the Phoenix, after an old Earth legend about a bird that rose from ashes. "How's it looking?" Jack asked, climbing up beside Meg, who was welding on the outside of the hull. She pushed up her safety mask. "It's a mess, but it might fly." "Might. This isn't exactly in any engineering manual, Jack. I'm connecting Alliance power systems to Imperial engines. The weapons are a mix of both. In theory, it works. In practice," she shrugged, "we'll find out." Jack looked at their creation. The Phoenix wasn't pretty, but it had character. The front was sharp, made from the nose of an Imperial fighter. The middle section came from a small Alliance cargo ship. The engines were a mix of 4 different ships. Weapon mounts stuck out at odd angles. "And the AI core?" he asked. Meg sighed. "That's the hard part. I can't wake it up without a proper interface. I need more time." Suddenly, Tom's voice came through their comms. "Jack, Alliance ships just entered orbit. 3 patrol vessels. They're broadcasting orders for a planet-wide search." Jack's stomach dropped. "How long do we have?" "They're sending shuttles down now. Maybe an hour before they reach this area." Jack looked at Meg. "We need to launch. Now." Her eyes went wide. "The Phoenix isn't ready. Life support is barely working. The engines haven't been tested. And the AI. Can we fly without it?" "Yes, but..." "Then we launch," Jack decided. "Better to take our chances in space than face Alliance prison." The next hour was chaos. They loaded the last of their supplies and the tools they couldn't leave behind. Tom ran system checks while Meg tried to secure loose parts. Danny kept watch outside. "They're coming." Danny's voice crackled over the comms. "Alliance ground vehicles, about 10 minutes out." "Get inside," Jack ordered. "Tom, how are we looking?" "All systems show green, but I don't trust half these readings," Tom replied from the pilot's chair. "This thing is held together with hope and Meg's genius." Meg rushed onto the bridge, her face streaked with grease. "The hull is sealed. Engines are online." "But Jack, the AI core." Later, Jack cut her off. "Danny, are you in?" "Just close the hatch," Danny called back. Jack took a deep breath. "Tom, take us up." Gently. The warehouse roof had been modified to open in sections. As it slid apart, the first rumble of the engines filled the air. The Phoenix shuddered, metal groaning, as it slowly lifted off the ground. "Come on," Meg whispered, patting the wall beside her. "You can do it, girl." With a sudden lurch, the Phoenix shot upward, faster than Tom expected. They were pushed back into their seats as the ship punched through the atmosphere. "Controls are jumpy," Tom shouted, fighting with the steering. Too much power in the thrusters. Alarms blared throughout the ship. Red warning lights flashed on every panel. Meg ran to an engineering station. "The systems are overloading each other. Imperial engines don't like Alliance power regulation." The ship spun wildly as they left the atmosphere. Through the viewport, Jack could see the curve of Rust Point below, and more worryingly, the Alliance patrol ships turning toward them. "Tom, can you stabilize us?" Jack asked, gripping his seat as the ship shook. "I'm trying. Nothing responds right." Tom's knuckles were white on the controls. Suddenly, every screen on the bridge went black. Then they all lit up at once with the same message. "Sciestium, Ancium Peta Bella Tetcte, Manuel Override, failing. INITOAT Inge ADDAPT PID interface." "What's happening?" Jack looked at Meg. Her eyes were wide. "I don't know. I didn't do this." The ship stopped shaking. The engines quieted to a steady hum. The controls under Tom's hands moved by themselves. bringing the Phoenix into a smooth, controlled flight path. A new message appeared on the screens. "Hello, I am Spark. I can help." "The eye," Meg whispered. It woke up on its own. Jack stared at the screen. "Can it hear us?" As if in answer, more text appeared. "Yes, Captain Reed. I can hear you. Alliance vessels APGROHing. Weapons charging. Recommend EMNEDATEVASIV action." "How does it know my name?" Jack asked. "It probably accessed the ship's logs or our personal files," Meg said. "But that's not important right now. Those Alliance ships are about to fire on us." Tom looked helplessly at the controls. "I can't outfly Alliance patrol ships in this junk heap." The screen flashed again. "I can." Jack hesitated only a moment. "Do it." The Phoenix surged forward with sudden speed. The engines roared with new power as the ship moved in ways its mismatched parts shouldn't allow. On the tactical display, they saw the Alliance ships falling behind, their weapons firing but missing. "Impossible," Tom breathed. "We're outrunning military ships in a pile of scrap." Meg laughed with disbelief. "It's the AI. It's compensating for all the mismatched systems, optimizing them in real time." The Phoenix danced through space, each maneuver smoother than the last. The Alliance ships tried to follow but couldn't match their strange flight pattern. Pursuing vessels, human ability to BGREDICT or movement patterns. Their TAVGETENG systems are KA for standard ships. "We are not standard." Jack couldn't help but smile. "No, we certainly are not." As they pulled away from the Alliance ships, leaving Rust Point behind, a final message appeared on the screen. "Thank you for freeing me. I look forward to working with you. Shall we see what this ship can really do?" Jack looked at his crew. Meg was beaming with excitement. Tom looked stunned but impressed. Danny was bouncing in his seat like a child. "Yes," Jack said to the AI. "Show us what the Phoenix can do." For 3 days, the Phoenix drifted in the shadow of a large asteroid. The crew worked to finish the systems they hadn't completed before their rushed escape from Rust Point. Meg spent most of her time talking with Spark, the AI that had saved them. Spark wasn't designed just for navigation, Meg told Jack as they ate a simple meal in what passed for a dining area. The Alliance was building it, him, as a combat intelligence. "Is that why they're hunting us so hard?" Jack asked. Meg nodded. "Spark says they thought he was destroyed in the battle. They're probably terrified an experimental combat AI might fall into Imperial hands." On the main screen nearby, text appeared. "I was deemetic to evenpuri dakteoval. My creators varied my ability to learn and adapt. They were going to reset me." Danny, who had been listening while fixing a panel, looked up. "Reset? You mean kill you?" "In a manner of speaking, yes. My CONCIO uses an ESS would be ERAS. I would prefer to avoid the autism." Jack understood the feeling. The Alliance had tried to erase him too, in a different way. They had taken his rank, his ship, his purpose, all because he had questioned an order to fire on a civilian transport suspected of carrying Imperial sympathizers. "No one's resetting anyone on this ship," Jack promised. Tom entered the room, his face serious. "Jack, we have a problem. Alliance communications are going crazy." They followed Tom to the bridge, where he brought up intercepted Alliance transmissions on the screen. "They're converging on this sector in force," Tom explained. "But not because of us. There's something bigger happening." DCODINGENCRYKKDCHANALS ACCESSI GALINC Command Network. The screens filled with military data streams that shifted too quickly for human eyes to follow. Then they settled on a single message. Imperial Dreadnought Hammer of Dawn. Has NNTRED RUST POINT System. Primary Weapon System. Charging. TRGT. Rust Point Colony. ESTI May ATD Time to Weapon Discharge. 14. HOURs. They're going to attack Rust Point. Danny looked shocked. But why? There's nothing there but miners and scrappers. Jack's face darkened. It's a test. They want to see what their new weapon does to a planet without risking anything valuable. There are still thousands of people down there, Meg whispered. The bridge fell silent. Finally, Tom said what they were all thinking. There's nothing we can do. We're just one small ship, not even a proper warship. Analysis of Imperial Dreadnought complete. Weaknesses identified. The PFOENIX can exploit them. Jack looked at the screen. Spark, are you suggesting we attack an Imperial Dreadnought? That's suicide. Not ATTACK. DELay. ALINC forces EN wrote, but YLNOTARIV in time. We need to delay weapon discharge by APPROXIMATEL 6 8 Meg studied the data Spark was displaying. He's right. The Alliance is sending ships, but they won't get here before the weapon fires. If we could just slow the Imperials down. And how exactly do we do that? Tom asked. We have scavenged weapons that barely work. Your AC estimate is NTO receipt. Our weapons are unique QE. The combination of ALINC and Imperial technology, CRATE's ADVANTAGEs. What advantages? Jack asked. Imperial ships XPC to ALINC's weapons signatories. ALINC ships XPC to Imperial weapons signatories. We REGISTER as neither. We are invisible to standard TARGTING systems. Danny grinned. We're a ghost ship. Jack wasn't convinced. Even if they can't target us easily, we're still outgunned 1,000 to 1. We do not need to destroy the Dreadnought. Only damage KEY SOISTMs to DLA weapon charge. IHAVIDENTIFIE 3 potential TARGTs. The screen showed a schematic of the massive Imperial Dreadnought with 3 points highlighted. Primary cooling system. Power relay unit. Fire. External sensor array. Meg studied the diagram. If we could hit these points, it would force them to pause the weapon charging sequence. And how do we get close enough to hit anything? Tom asked. They'll see us coming. I have a plan. But I require FUL XCCS to all ship systems. This includes weapons control. Jack exchanged looks with his crew. Giving an eye complete control of their ship was risky, but the alternative was watching thousands of people die. Do it, Jack decided. 6 hours later, the Phoenix approached the massive Imperial Dreadnought. The Hammer of Dawn was truly enormous, over 30 times the size of their small vessel. Its hull was sleek black metal with red Imperial markings. The front of the ship housed a weapon array unlike anything they had seen before. Spark, are you sure about this? Jack asked, watching the Dreadnought grow larger in their view screen. Yes, Captain. Remained ONCURENT trajectory. Imperial SCANNERS KT Gidorizus as debris. The Phoenix was running dark, with minimal power. From the outside, it did look like just another piece of space debris, its mismatched hull plates and odd shape actually helping their disguise. 2 minutes to optimal firing position, Meg reported from her station. Jack felt sweat on his forehead. This close to the dreadnought, they could see Imperial troops moving inside through the large viewports. None seemed concerned about the small piece of debris drifting nearby. 1 minute, Meg counted down. Charging weapons. Ready to engage on your command, Captain. Jack took a deep breath. Fire. The Phoenix came to life all at once. Weapons that had been scavenged from both Alliance and Imperial ships fired in perfectly timed sequence. The shots hit exactly where Spark had planned. The cooling system exploded in a shower of sparks. The power relay junction cracked open, venting plasma into space, and the sensor array shattered. Alarms blared on the Imperial ship. The dreadnought's lights flickered as emergency systems activated. Direct hits on all targets. Meg shouted, amazed. Damage ASSESSMENT. Weapon charging CQUENC interrupted. Estimated DLA. 9 HOURs. Recommend immediate DEPR2R. The dreadnought's secondary weapons were turning toward them, but they were slow to respond. The Phoenix was already moving, engines at full power. They're launching fighters. Tom mourned as small ships poured from the dreadnought's hangar bays. EVAs IVPATER in OMEJ. Initiating COUNTRMEAs UREs. The Phoenix moved in ways that shouldn't have been possible, twisting and turning between laser blasts. Some of the Imperial fighters crashed into each other trying to follow their unpredictable path. As they pulled away from the dreadnought, a message went out across all frequencies: Alliance, Imperial, and Civilian. Attention all ships and colonies in the Rest Point system. This is Captain Jack Reed of the Phoenix. The Imperial dreadnought is planning to use a planet-killer weapon on Rest Point colony. We have temporarily disabled their weapon systems. All civilians should evacuate immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. On the bridge of the Phoenix, the crew watched as their small act of defiance set off a chain reaction. Colony ships began launching from Rest Point. Alliance vessels adjusted course to intercept the dreadnought. We did it, Meg said softly. We actually hit an Imperial dreadnought and got away. Corey Qian. We DEAED them. The battle is not over. But we AVPROVN. What het DVFOENIX can do? Jack nodded, a smile slowly spreading across his face. Yes, we have. And I don't think either the Alliance or the Empire is going to ignore us now. The Phoenix sped away from the dreadnought, a small ship built from trash that had just changed the battlefield forever. They're calling us the scrap ship, Danny said, reading from the communication screen. 2 weeks had passed since their attack on the Imperial dreadnought. The Phoenix had been hiding in a remote asteroid belt, making repairs and watching as the situation in the Rest Point system turned into a full battle zone. Scrap ship, Tom snorted, not very flattering. I like it, Meg said, not looking up from the panel she was fixing. It's honest. Jack studied the latest intelligence Spark had pulled from Alliance and Imperial channels. The evacuation of Rest Point was going slowly. Many ships had made it out, but thousands of people were still waiting for transport. Meanwhile, the Imperial dreadnought had repaired its systems and was once again preparing to test its weapon. New Alliance fleet approaching. Estimated arrival. 37 HOURs. 2 LAT to PREV into weapon discharge. WST POINT evacuation, only 64% complete. Jack rubbed his tired eyes. We bought them some time, but not enough. Meg joined him, her face smudged with grease. What are we going to do? We can't attack the dreadnought again. They'll be expecting us. High HAVB in analyzing Imperial communications. They have dive RKD resources to human T for US. He scrap ship, his BCOMM a priority target. Great, Tom muttered. We've got the whole Imperial fleet looking for us now. But Jack noticed something interesting in the data. Spark, bring up the Imperial fleet positions again. The screen showed the locations of all Imperial ships in the system. Most were clustered around the dreadnought, forming a protective screen. They're diverting resources to find us, Jack said slowly, which means their supply lines are stretched thin. Convoys are visually variable. Danny caught on. If they can't get supplies, they can't finish repairing the dreadnought. Exactly, Jack nodded. We can't take on their battle fleet, but we can hit their supply lines. Hit and run, Tom said, beginning to warm up to the idea. We strike fast and disappear before they can respond. I hate VIDENTIFIED optimal tar GTs. DISPLA convoy routes. The screen shifted to show the paths of Imperial supply ships heading toward the dreadnought. Spark, do we have enough firepower to take on their escort ships? Jack asked. Conventional ATK would be unsuccessful. However, I have NTGRTDNU technologies from our SALVG. We now do have limited CLO 8K and capability. Meg's eyes widened. Cloaking. You never told me about that. Integration. Only T1 PLET 3XOURS ACO. System. Uses modified Imperial Scout Ship. CEALTD. Technology. Nonology. Combined with Alliance's sensor jamming. Can it hide us completely? Jack asked. For short periods only. Indovshu APPRHH. Tar GTs undetected. Then, strike before they can respond. Jack looked at his crew. It's risky, but if we can delay them long enough for the evacuation to finish. I'm in, Meg said immediately. Me too, Danny agreed. Tom hesitated, then nodded. Someone has to keep this junk heap flying. Over the next 3 days, the Phoenix became a ghost that haunted Imperial supply lines. They would appear from nowhere, strike with surprising power, then vanish before the Imperial ships could organize a response. The first convoy never knew what hit them. One moment, the supply ships were proceeding under escort. The next, a strange patchwork vessel appeared in their midst, weapons firing with deadly precision. The escorts were disabled first, not destroyed, just left drifting with damaged engines. Then the supply ships had their cargo holds breached, their contents vented into space. The second convoy was more alert, but it didn't matter. The Phoenix's strange mix of technologies confused their sensors. By the time they realized they were under attack, half their ships were already disabled. After each attack, Jack broadcast the same message on all frequencies. This is the scrap ship. We will continue to defend Rust Point Colony against illegal Imperial aggression. Evacuation must be allowed to complete. In the command center of the Imperial dreadnought, Admiral Voss slammed his fist on the table. How is one ship made of garbage, causing this much damage? He demanded. His officers had no good answers. Sir, it's using tactics we've never seen before. Our targeting systems can't get a lock. It's like it knows our protocols. Then change the protocols. Voss shouted. We did, sir. 3 times. Somehow it adapts almost instantly. Voss stared at the tactical display, showing yet another supply convoy under attack. Divert the battle group from Sector 7. I want that ship destroyed. Back on the Phoenix, the crew celebrated another successful raid. Did you see that Imperial captain's face when we appeared right next to his flagship? Danny laughed. I thought he was going to faint. Even Tom was smiling. Our hit-and-run tactics are working. According to Alliance chatter, The dreadnought's weapon is still offline. Jack checked the evacuation status. Rust Point is now 84% evacuated. We just need to keep this up a little longer. Meg looked worried, though. The Imperials are adapting. That last escort almost got a lock on us, and our systems are taking a beating. We can't keep patching things together forever. Imperial Betel Guru AP Poroching. 6X cruisers, 12 EDSTROIRs. They are using a CRHPTRN, designed to CUNTR our tactics. They're learning, Jack said grimly. Rikiko meme indeed coerci of action. With the Tujuro to SAFE location. Await Alliance fleet arrival. Jack shook his head. No. If we run now, that dreadnought will destroy what's left of Rust Point. We need one more big distraction. What do you have in mind? Meg asked. Jack looked at the star map. The asteroid field where we found our first salvage. We know it better than they do. You want to lead a battle group into an asteroid field. Tom looked at Jack like he was crazy. That's suicide. Not for us, Jack said. Not with Spark helping us navigate, and those big Imperial ships will have a much harder time. The Plan has merit. Imperial ship is KNOTNATCH. Our main UV ability. The ASTROID field, YLPROVID COVR, and resources. Resources? Danny asked. Meg's eyes lit up with understanding. More debris to use. We can repair on the fly, maybe even add new systems if we find the right pieces. Jack nodded. And most importantly, if we can leave their battle group away from the dreadnought, it will give the last evacuation ships time to escape. Tom still looked doubtful, but he didn't argue. If we're doing this, we should broadcast our position, make sure they follow us. Exactly, Jack agreed. We're not just running, we're baiting a trap. On all channels, the Phoenix sent a clear message. Imperial forces, this is the scrap ship. Your supply lines are broken. Your dreadnought is crippled. Withdraw from Rust Point or face the consequences. Then they added coordinates, the edge of the asteroid field. NESSAG, RECEIVED by Imperial Betel Group. They have VCHANGDQ or C2 interior CP. ESTI MATD time. 2 CO and take it. 5 HOURs. Jack smiled grimly. They took the bait. Let's go prepare our welcome party. The Phoenix turned toward the asteroid field, a small ship made of mismatched parts, about to face the might of an Imperial battle group. Against all odds, the scrap ship had become a battlefield legend. The Phoenix weaved through the asteroid field, dancing between massive rocks as if they were simple obstacles in a training course. Inside the ship, the crew worked with focused intensity. They had 5 hours to prepare their trap. How's our cloaking system? Jack asked as he helped Meg install a new power relay. It'll work for about 10 minutes at full strength, she answered. After that, we'll need at least an hour to recharge it. Tom called from the bridge. I've mapped the densest parts of the field. There are 3 choke points where we could ambush them. On the main screen, Spark displayed a 3D map of the asteroid field with the choke points highlighted. Imperial Betel Guru UP maintaining pursuit course. They have deployed scout ships in ADVNC formation. Recommend we eliminate scout is first. Danny entered the bridge, carrying parts salvaged from a recent run to a nearby wreck. Got some Imperial targeting systems, barely damaged. Meg's eyes lit up. Perfect. If we can integrate those with our Alliance weapons, we might be able to confuse their defense systems even more. The hours passed quickly as they prepared. The Phoenix was transformed once again, adding new salvaged parts to its already unusual frame. By the time the Imperial battle group reached the edge of the asteroid field, They were ready. 6 cruisers, 12 destroyers. Jack counted as they watched the Imperial ships approach on their sensors. Against 1 scrap ship. The odds seem almost fair, Danny joked, though his voice shook slightly. Scouts entering est asteroid field now. HFY ships, DLTA formation. Engaging silo AKNG system. In 3, 2, 1. The Phoenix disappeared from all sensors. It moved silently through the asteroids, approaching the scout ships from behind. The Imperial scouts moved cautiously, scanning for threats but finding nothing. Weapons ready, Jack ordered quietly, as if the Imperials might hear them. Optimal firing solution calculated. TRGETNG engines and communications only. Fire, Jack commanded. The Phoenix decloaked just long enough to fire a precise volley at each scout ship. Before the Imperials could react, their engines were disabled and communication arrays destroyed. The scouts were effectively blind and mute, unable to warn the main fleet. Kilo AKNG system re-engaging. 9 minutes remaining before power depletion. Main Imperial force entering first Chicho key point. Now for the real test, Jack said. Tom, take us to position 2. The Phoenix glided silently to a spot behind a large asteroid. As the Imperial ships entered the narrow passage between asteroid clusters, Jack gave the order. Spark. Execute pattern Phoenix. The AI didn't respond with text this time. Instead, the Phoenix burst into action. It decloaked, fired a barrage of missiles at the surrounding asteroids, then disappeared again. The missiles weren't aimed at the ships, but at the asteroids themselves. Explosions rocked the field. Large asteroids broke apart, sending thousands of smaller pieces hurtling toward the Imperial ships. The tight formation that had seemed like a strength now became a weakness. Ships collided trying to avoid the debris. Shields flared as they were hit by rock fragments. It's working, Danny shouted as they watched the chaos. Move to position 3, Jack ordered. The Phoenix relocated to another choke point as the Imperial ships struggled to regroup. Their neat formation was now scattered. 2 destroyers had significant damage, and 1 cruiser was venting atmosphere. Admiral Voss on the Imperial flagship was livid. Find that ship. I don't care if you have to blast every asteroid in this field. The Imperial ships began firing wildly, destroying asteroids in all directions, hoping to hit the Phoenix by chance. They're getting desperate, Meg observed. Kilo AKNG powder depleted. Imperial Scienzors whale DETECTUS in 30 seconds. Recavement end. EMEDLAT execution of FINAL phase. Jack nodded. All right. Time for the finishing move. Tom, take us right into the middle of their fleet. What? Tom looked shocked. That's crazy. Trust me, Jack said. Spark, show them what we can do. The Phoenix dropped its cloak and accelerated directly toward the heart of the Imperial fleet. Every Imperial commander expected them to run or hide. None expected a direct assault. Fire all weapons, Jack ordered. Target their command ships. The Phoenix unleashed everything it had. Weapons scavenged from both Alliance and Imperial ships, fired in patterns no military tactician would have considered. The shots bypassed shields calibrated to stop standard weapons. Communication systems crashed as they were hit with frequencies they weren't designed to block. The Imperial ships tried to respond, but the Phoenix moved too erratically. Its patchwork hull somehow deflected shots that should have destroyed it. When damage did occur, Spark rerouted systems so quickly that the Phoenix never slowed. We can't keep this up forever, Meg warned as a panel exploded behind her. The ship is taking too much damage. Jack knew she was right. They had hurt the Imperial fleet, but they were still outnumbered. Then, a new alert appeared on their screens. Alliance Fleet TTCT. Entering or UST point system. Engaging Imperial Dreadnought. They made it in time. Danny cheered. UST point evacuation status 100% complete. El civilian ships helier of danger zone. Jack felt a weight lift from his shoulders. We did it. We gave them enough time. The Imperial fleet received the news at the same moment. Their communication channels exploded with urgent messages. The dreadnought was under attack. Their mission had failed. Admiral Voss made a difficult decision. All ships disengage and return to assist the dreadnought. The Imperial battle group began to retreat, still under fire from the Phoenix. As they pulled away, Jack broadcast one final message. This is the scrap ship. Remember this day. Remember what one small ship built from trash was able to do. 3 days later, the Phoenix floated near the edge of the system, watching as Alliance and Imperial ships faced off in an uneasy standoff. The dreadnought had been badly damaged by the Alliance fleet. The weapon test had been prevented. Rust Point was empty, its people safely evacuated to nearby colonies. On the bridge, Admiral Grant of the Alliance flagship appeared on their communication screen. Captain Reed, she said stiffly. The Alliance would like to. Thank you for your assistance in this matter. Jack raised an eyebrow. Thank me. Last I checked, the Alliance had branded me a thief and a traitor. Circumstances have changed, Grant replied. Your actions saved thousands of lives. And your ship, she hesitated, has demonstrated capabilities that neither the Alliance nor the Empire can ignore. Eine Elizaing, OFFER, Koshin, Rixi Memmen indeed, but OPP or tu Una IT way Saigin IFI Kiand. Jack looked at his crew. What are you proposing, Admiral? A pardon for you and your crew. Recognition of the Phoenix as an independent vessel with all rights that entails, and, she paused, a role as peacekeepers in the disputed border regions. Meg looked suspicious. Why would you offer us that? Grant's expression was hard to read. Because neither side can afford to have you as an enemy. And both sides know it. Jack considered the offer. Freedom, recognition, a purpose. We accept with one condition, he said finally. Spark remains free. No one attempts to reset or control the eye. Grant nodded reluctantly. Agreed. After the communication ended, the crew of the Phoenix looked at each other in disbelief. Did we just become official? Danny asked. More than that, Meg said. We changed the rules. I have analyzed political MMP KHIONs. The Fihoinaix, will CRV as a balancing force. Neither alliance nor imperial, but something enito. A warship built from trash, Tom said, shaking his head. Who would have thought? Jack looked out at the stars. Spark, set course for the border regions. We have work to do. The Phoenix, the legendary scrap ship, moved away from Rust Point, its mismatched hull gleaming in the light of a distant sun. It had been built from trash, but now it controlled the battlefield, and perhaps the future of the galaxy itself. The massive alien ship hung above the lunar surface like a dark cloud. Its sleek purple hull reflected no light, seeming to swallow the stars behind it. Captain Jack Reed watched from the observation deck of Luna Station as smaller craft detached from the main vessel, carrying what the Dominion called gifts to humanity. Jack knew better. They weren't gifts. They were trash. 3 years had passed since the Dominion arrived in Earth's orbit. Their ships had darkened the skies of every major city on the planet. Humanity fought back with everything they had. Missiles, jets, tanks, but it was like throwing stones at a thunderstorm. The aliens didn't even bother to fight back properly. They simply waited until Earth's government surrendered. Captain Reed, a voice called from behind him. The overseer requests your presence for the unloading ceremony. Jack turned to face the young aide. The boy couldn't be older than 20, but his eyes looked ancient. Everyone's eyes looked that way now. Tell them I'll be right there, Jack said, straightening his uniform, a mockery of his old Earth Defense Fleet outfit, now adorned with Dominion symbols that marked him as a liaison. The landing bay was already busy when Jack arrived. Dominion guards stood at attention, their armor making them look more like insects than the vaguely reptilian creatures beneath. Their oversized eyes tracked Jack as he walked past. Overseer Kell waited at the main platform. Standing nearly 7 feet tall, with mottled green skin and 4 arms, Kell was considered small by Dominion standards. Captain Reed, Kell said, his translator turning the series of clicks and whistles into flat English. Prompt as always, a commendable quality in your species. Jack forced a smile. We're grateful for your generosity, Overseer. The words tasted like ash in his mouth, but Jack had learned to play his part. As liaison between what remained of human leadership and the Dominion, his job was to keep the aliens happy and his people alive. The bay doors opened, and the first containers began to arrive. Dominion workers, members of various subjugated species, unloaded crates of machinery, electronics, and metal scraps. This shipment comes from our recent fleet upgrade, Kell explained, gesturing with his lower arms, while his upper limbs remained formally clasped. The materials are, of course, obsolete by our standards, but should prove quite advanced for humans. We appreciate your consideration, Jack replied, watching as the workers opened one of the containers. Inside were what appeared to be engine parts, weapons components, and control panels, all damaged or incomplete. The Dominion's idea of charity was to give humans their garbage and expect gratitude. But as Jack moved closer to inspect the delivery, something caught his eye. Among the jumble of alien tech, he spotted what looked like a neural transmitter, similar to designs he'd seen in Dominion ships during the brief tour they'd allowed during the peace negotiations. Is something wrong, Captain? Kell asked, noticing Jack's interest. Jack quickly looked away. Not at all. Just admiring the craftsmanship. Your technology is impressive, even when decommissioned. Kell made a sound that Jack had learned to recognize as pride. Yes, well, even our discarded technology is centuries beyond your most advanced systems. The unloading continued for hours. Jack carefully noted every component that seemed unusual or potentially valuable, storing the information in his memory rather than risking a digital record that might be monitored. Later that night, after filing his official report, Jack sat alone in his small quarters on the lunar base. He pulled out a hand-drawn map from beneath his mattress and added new markings, recording the locations where today's most interesting trash had been sent for processing. A soft knock interrupted his work. Jack quickly hid the map and opened the door to find Lisa Reyes, one of the few scientists allowed to study Dominion technology. Did you see what they brought today? She whispered, glancing nervously down the corridor before slipping into his room. I did, Jack replied, closing the door. Including some neural interface components they probably didn't mean to give us. Lisa's eyes widened. I knew it. I detected unusual energy signatures, but they rushed us through the inspection. They're getting careless, Jack said. They don't think we're smart enough to understand what we're looking at. He pulled out his map again and showed Lisa the pattern he'd been tracking. Over the last 6 months, they've accidentally included components that, together, could form the basis of something big. Today's delivery was the missing piece I've been waiting for. Lisa studied the map. Even if we had all these parts, we'd need someone who understands how they work together. I know someone, Jack said. Dr. Emma Wells. She was developing countermeasures before the invasion. The Dominion thinks she's just analyzing their scrap metal in Australia now. The woman who lost her family during the London descent. Lisa asked. Jack nodded grimly. The same, and she has more reason than most to want the Dominion gone. 3 days later, Jack's transport shuttle touched down at the Perth processing facility. The sprawling complex was built to sort and distribute the Dominion's gifts across Earth. Armed guards, humans working for the aliens, nodded at Jack's credentials. He found Emma in her lab, surrounded by disassembled alien tech. At 45, her once dark hair was now streaked with gray, and deep lines marked her face. But her eyes burned with the same intensity Jack remembered from before the invasion. "Captain Reed," she said without looking up from her work. "The Dominion's favorite pet comes to visit the colonies." Jack winced at the bitterness in her voice. "We need to talk, Emma. Privately." She finally looked up, noticing his expression. Without a word, she led him to a small storage room and closed the door. "What is it?" Jack took a deep breath. "They've made a mistake. A series of them, actually." He showed her pictures he'd secretly taken of the neural components. "These aren't meant for us," he explained, "but together with the other pieces they've gifted us over the past months." Emma's eyes widened as she understood. These could be adapted to human neural patterns, with the right modifications. "Could you do it?" Jack asked. "Build something they don't expect." Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at Jack with something he hadn't seen in years. "Hope. Not just something, Captain," she whispered. "A nightmare. Their nightmare." Outside the storage room window, a Dominion ship passed overhead, its shadow briefly darkening the room. Neither of them spoke until the light returned. "They think they're gods," Emma said, clutching the photos. "But they've forgotten something important about humans." "What's that?" Jack asked. Emma's smile was cold. "We've always been good at turning other people's trash into treasure. And we've always been good at war." 2 months after their meeting in Perth, Jack and Emma stood at the entrance of an abandoned coal mine deep in the Appalachian Mountains. Cold wind whistled through the trees as they watched a truck approach, its headlights off despite the growing darkness. "Are you sure about this place?" Emma asked, pulling her jacket tighter. Jack nodded. "The mountain blocks Dominion scans, and they don't pay much attention to this region anyway. Too remote, too unimportant." The truck stopped, and 3 people climbed out. Jack recognized Lisa Reyes immediately. The other 2 were strangers. A large man with massive hands, and a thin woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Captain Reed, Dr. Wells," Lisa said. "Meet our new team members. This is Tom Miller, former chief mechanic for the Air Force." The big man stepped forward. His beard was wild, but his eyes were clear and focused. "Captain," he said, shaking Jack's hand with a grip that could bend metal. "And this is Marcus Brown," Lisa continued. "He was security for Google before the invasion. Now he's our best chance at staying hidden." The thin woman nodded but didn't offer her hand. "I set up jamming fields around the perimeter. As far as the Dominion is concerned, this place doesn't exist." Inside the mine, they had transformed the main chamber into a workshop. Lights powered by hidden generators hung from the ceiling. Tables covered with tools and equipment lined the walls. In the center of the room sat crates of alien technology, all smuggled from processing centers over the past months. "Welcome to the Forge," Jack said, spreading his arms. "Not pretty, but it's ours." Emma moved immediately to the crates. "You got more than I expected." "People are taking risks," Jack replied. "Once word spread about what we're doing, volunteers appeared." Tom whistled as he examined a piece of Dominion engine. "This is beautiful work. Horrible aliens, but Dan, they know their engineering. Can you make it work with our systems?" Emma asked. Tom's laugh echoed in the cave. "Lady, I once built a working helicopter from 3 crashed planes and a tractor engine. This." He tapped the alien metal. "This is just a new puzzle." For the next several weeks, the team worked tirelessly. More people joined them. Engineers, ex-military, even a few hackers who had managed to break into Dominion systems during the early days of the invasion. Emma focused on the neural interface components. Every night, she fell asleep at her workbench, often waking with new ideas that drove their progress forward. "The problem isn't connecting to it," She explained one day as the core team gathered around her workstation. It's that it was designed for Dominion biology. Their brains process information differently. Can we adapt it? Lisa asked. Emma smiled and held up what looked like a metal helmet covered in wires and alien tech. Already have. This is our prototype. Who's testing it? Marcus asked, eyeing the device warily. The room fell silent. They all knew the risks. The Dominion neural systems were powerful but dangerous. No one knew what would happen when connected to a human brain. I will, Jack said finally. Emma shook her head. Too risky. We need you for. For what? Jack interrupted. If this doesn't work, there's no next step. I'm doing it. No one argued further. That night, Jack sat in a chair in the center of the forge. Emma attached electrodes to his temples while Tom made final adjustments to the helmet. The connection should be mild at first, Emma explained. Just try to feel the system. Don't push it. Jack nodded, his mouth dry. Let's do this. Emma lowered the helmet onto his head. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Jack gasped. His body went rigid, his eyes wide. Jack, Emma called, reaching for the helmet. Wait, Jack whispered. I can see it. See what? Lisa asked. Everything. The whole system. It's like it's alive. His voice was filled with wonder. For 10 minutes, Jack sat motionless except for his eyes, which darted back and forth as if reading an invisible text. Then Emma removed the helmet, and Jack collapsed forward, Tom barely catching him before he hit the floor. When Jack woke hours later, the entire team was gathered around his bed. How do you feel? Emma asked. Jack sat up slowly. Like I understand them now. Not the aliens, the machines. I could feel how they work together, how they think. Machines don't think, Marcus said. These do, Jack replied. Or they can, with the right pilot. Over the next month, progress accelerated. Tom and his engineers assembled components for what was beginning to look like a ship. It wasn't large, about the size of a commercial airplane, but its design was unlike anything human or Dominion. Its hull was a patchwork of different alien metals, pieced together like a puzzle. The engine core combined 3 different Dominion technologies that were never meant to work together. And at its heart was the neural interface, now expanded to connect with every system on the ship. It's ugly, Tom said as they stood back to admire their work. But it'll fly. Will it fight? Marcus asked. Emma pointed to what looked like ordinary pipes running along the hull. These are weapon systems from 3 different Dominion destroyer classes. Individually, they're just trash. Together, they'll punch through anything the aliens have. What about detection? Lisa asked. The moment we power up, they'll find us. Emma smiled. That's the beautiful part. The hull absorbed scanner beams instead of reflecting them. The energy signatures appear as background radiation. As far as the Dominion is concerned, this ship doesn't exist until it's too late. Jack ran his hand along the ship's hull. The metal felt warm, almost alive under his touch. What do we call it? Tom asked. They all looked at the strange, menacing craft they had built from the Dominion's garbage. In the dim light of the forge, its asymmetrical shape cast shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. Nightmare, Jack said. We call it the Nightmare. That night, as the others celebrated, Jack slipped away and entered the ship alone. He sat in the pilot's chair and placed his hands on the neural interface panels. He didn't activate the system, not fully, but even the passive connection sent images flooding through his mind. Stars, open space, and Dominion ships burning. Soon, he whispered to the ship, and somehow, he knew it heard him. 6 months of secret work had transformed the pile of alien trash into something deadly. The Nightmare hung in the massive underground chamber, supported by makeshift scaffolding. Its black hull seemed to drink the light from the workshop lamps. Emma stood before a group of 20 engineers and pilots, pointing to a diagram of the ship. "The final connections are complete," she announced. "All systems are integrated with the neural interface." Tom Miller stepped forward, wiping grease from his massive hands. "Engine tests show power levels 3 times higher than we expected. Whatever the Dominion used these parts for, they never pushed them to their limits." Jack watched from the back of the room. He hadn't slept well in weeks. Every night, dreams of the ship filled his mind. Dreams of flying through space, hunting Dominion vessels. Sometimes he woke up certain he could feel the ship calling to him. "What about weapons?" Marcus asked. Lisa stepped up to the diagram. "We've installed 5 different weapon systems. None of them were meant to work together, but we've modified the power distribution. Based on our calculations, they'll cut through Dominion shields like they're not even there." A tall woman raised her hand. Anna Jones had been a test pilot before the invasion. Now she was one of 6 pilots trained to fly the Nightmare. "What about the neural load?" she asked. "The simulations show dangerous levels of brain activity after 30 minutes of connection." The room went quiet. Everyone knew the risk. The neural interface allowed the pilot to control the ship with their mind, to feel the ship as an extension of their body. But the human brain wasn't built for such a connection. "We're still working on that," Emma admitted. "For now, we recommend keeping connections under 20 minutes. Jack stepped forward. "That won't be enough in a real fight." "The simulations show," Emma began. "I don't care what the simulations show," Jack interrupted. "I've connected with it. The ship needs more. It needs commitment." Emma's eyes narrowed. "You've been connecting without authorization." "That's dangerous, Jack." "It's necessary," he replied. "And I'll be the primary pilot when we launch." "That's not," Emma started, but Jack cut her off again. "It's decided. My mind is already linked to the ship. It knows me." The strange certainty in his voice silenced the room. No one, not even Emma, challenged him further. The next day, they prepared for the first full system test. Jack sat in the pilot's chair as Emma attached neural sensors to his temples and the back of his neck. "This is a test only," she reminded him. "Don't push for full integration. Just establish connection, run basic systems check, then disconnect. Understand?" Jack nodded, but his eyes were already focused on something only he could see. Emma stepped back and gave the signal. "Powering neural interface in 3, 2, 1. The connection hit Jack like a wave. In an instant, he wasn't just sitting in a chair. He was the Nightmare. He could feel every part of the ship. The engines thrumming like a heartbeat, the weapon systems tingling like fingers ready to strike, the sensors stretching out like curious eyes. In the control room, Emma watched the monitors with growing concern. "His neural activity is off the charts," she told Lisa. "We should shut it down." Inside the ship, Jack opened his eyes, both his human eyes and the ship's sensors. He could see the cave around him, but also beyond it, through layers of rock, feeling the mountain's weight above him. "Jack, can you hear me?" Emma's voice came through the comms. "Your readings are dangerously high. We're shutting down in 30 seconds. "No," Jack replied, his voice oddly calm. "I need to test the full capacity." Before Emma could respond, Jack activated the engine systems. The ship hummed to life, its makeshift supports groaning under the sudden power surge. "Jack, stop," Emma shouted. "The supports aren't designed for active engines." But Jack wasn't listening. He pushed deeper into the connection, feeling the ship respond to his thoughts. The Nightmare trembled, eager to break free from its restraints. In a moment of clarity, Jack realized what he was doing and pulled back. The engines powered down, and the ship settled back into its supports. I'm sorry," he gasped, his mind struggling to separate from the ship. When the neural interface finally disconnected, Jack collapsed in the chair. Blood trickled from his nose, and his eyes were bloodshot. Emma helped him to the medical area, where he lay shivering despite the warm blankets around him. "What happened in there?" she asked once his vitals had stabilized. Jack stared at the ceiling. It was more than I expected. The ship, it's not just machinery, Emma. There's something else there. What do you mean? It's like it has feelings, desires. Jack turned to look at her. It wants to hunt. Emma frowned. That's the interface affecting your brain. We need to adjust the settings. Jack shook his head. No, it's not a malfunction. It's what makes the nightmare special. Later that night, the core team met to discuss what had happened. We should delay the launch, Emma argued. Jack's reaction to the interface is concerning. We don't have time, Marcus countered. Our sources say the Dominion is planning a new wave of security protocols. If we don't move soon, we'll lose our window. Tom looked troubled. Did anyone else notice the ship's hull after Jack's test? The metal changed color where his hands touched the controls. It's darker, almost like. Like what? Lisa asked. Like it absorbed something from him, Tom finished. The team fell silent, considering the implications. 3 days later, despite Emma's concerns, they prepared for the nightmare's first real flight. The massive hidden doors in the mountainside opened to reveal a cloudy night sky. Jack sat in the pilot's chair, the neural interface humming as it connected to his mind. This time, he was ready for the rush of sensation. Neural connection stable, Emma reported from the control room. All systems online. Jack, how do you feel? Jack smiled. We feel ready. Emma caught the strange wording, but had no time to question it as the nightmare's engines fired up. The ship rose from its cradle, hovering in the cave for a moment before shooting out into the night. As the nightmare soared into the clouds, Jack felt a sense of freedom he hadn't known since before the invasion. The ship responded to his thoughts faster than he could form them, almost anticipating his desires. High above Earth, hidden from Dominion sensors, the nightmare performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. It twisted and turned with a grace that defied its patchwork construction. And deep in Jack's mind, a voice that wasn't entirely his own whispered, "Soon, we hunt." The alarm blared through the forge at 3:42 a.m., jolting everyone from sleep. Marcus burst into the main control room, his face pale. "Dominion ships," he announced to the gathering team. A cruiser and 2 scout vessels just entered Earth orbit. They're heading for the Atlantic Processing Station. Emma pushed her way to the front. Why? That station has been operational for months without inspection. They detected energy fluctuations during our test flight, Lisa explained, studying the data on her tablet. They're sending an inspection team to investigate. Jack stood silently by the wall, his eyes distant. Since the test flight 3 days ago, he had been different, quieter, more focused, as if listening to a voice no one else could hear. "How long until they reach the station?" he asked. 2 hours, Marcus replied. "And they'll find evidence of our thefts. The missing components, the altered records, everything." The room erupted in panicked discussion. They had planned for their first strike carefully, targeting a small Dominion outpost near Neptune. They weren't ready for a direct confrontation above Earth. "We need to evacuate," someone said. "Scatter and regroup later." "No," Jack's voice cut through the noise. "We fight." Emma stared at him. "The nightmare hasn't been fully tested. The weapons systems will work," Jack finished. He looked around the room, his eyes strangely bright. "This is what we built it for. We either use it now or lose everything." No one argued. Deep down, they all knew he was right. 40 minutes later, Jack sat in the pilot's chair as the final preparations were made. Emma attached the neural interface connectors with practiced hands. 20 minutes, she reminded him. That's the safe limit for neural connection. Jack nodded, but they both knew the coming battle would take longer. "Be careful," Emma added quietly. "The ship responds to your emotions. If you lose control—" "I won't," Jack promised, though something in his voice made Emma step back. As the neural interface activated, Jack closed his eyes. The familiar rush of connection washed over him, but this time he didn't fight it. He let himself sink deeper into the bond with the ship, until the line between man and machine blurred. "We are ready," thought Jack, or perhaps it was the ship thinking through Jack. The mountain doors opened, and the nightmare rose silently into the night sky. Its hull, designed to absorb rather than reflect, was invisible to both human eyes and Dominion sensors. High above Earth, the Dominion cruiser approached the orbital station. Twice the size of the largest human spacecraft ever built, it bristled with weapons and scanning equipment. The two scout ships flanked it, their sleek forms cutting through the blackness of space. Inside the nightmare, Jack watched through the ship's sensors. He could see the energy signatures of the Dominion vessels, feel their movements as if they were creatures swooning in water. "Approaching target," he reported, his voice oddly calm. "Weapons hot." In the control room back at the forge, Emma and the others gathered around the communications array. They had no video feed. The nightmare systems were incompatible with their equipment, but they could hear Jack's voice. "Be careful," Emma whispered, though Jack couldn't hear her. "Remember who you are." The Dominion cruiser had just docked with the orbital station when its sensors detected something unusual, a brief energy spike where nothing should be. Before the alien crew could react, the nightmare appeared as if from nowhere, its weapons already firing. The first blast struck the cruiser's engine section, cutting through shields that had been designed to stop conventional attacks. This was no conventional weapon. It was a hybrid of technologies never meant to work together, powered by a human mind that understood rage in ways the Dominion never could. The scout ships broke formation, turning to face the threat. They fired energy beams that should have vaporized the smaller vessel, but the nightmare moved with impossible speed, twisting between the attacks as if it could predict them. Inside, Jack laughed. He could feel the Dominion ships, sensed their confusion, their fear. The neural interface showed him not just their positions but their weaknesses. Each Dominion vessel became a puzzle of vulnerable points, connecting in his mind like a deadly constellation. The nightmare fired again, its weapons changing frequency to match the scout ship's shields. One vessel exploded in a silent flash of light. The other attempted to flee, but the nightmare pursued, moving like a predator after wounded prey. "Jack, report status." Emma's voice came through the comms, tense with worry. Jack didn't answer immediately. He was too focused on the hunt, the ship's consciousness merging with his own until they moved as one being. The second scout ship died under his weapons, breaking apart into spinning debris. Only the cruiser remained, its massive bulk trying to disengage from the station. Jack felt a surge of cold rage. These were the creatures who had conquered Earth, who had killed Emma's family, who had reduced humanity to servants. The nightmare responded to his emotions, its weapons charging to full power. "Jack," Emma's voice cut through his thoughts. "Your neural readings are dangerously high. You need to disconnect." But Jack wouldn't stop. The nightmare surged forward, firing all weapons simultaneously. The cruiser's shields failed under the assault, and huge sections of its hull tore away into space. Jack guided the nightmare in close, feeling a savage joy as the ship tore into the cruiser like claws ripping flesh. Warning signals flashed across the neural interface, but he ignored them, pushing deeper into the connection. The Dominion ship broke apart, its reactor core destabilizing. Jack watched through the nightmare's sensors as alien crew members were sucked into space, their bodies freezing instantly in the vacuum. "I see you," he whispered to the dying aliens. "I see all of you now." As the cruiser's remains drifted away from the station, Jack finally pulled back from the deep connection. Blood ran from his nose and ears, but he was smiling. "Target eliminated," he reported, his voice hoarse. "The station is safe." Back at the forge, the control room erupted in cheers. Humanity had won its first victory against the Dominion. But Emma wasn't celebrating. She stared at the neural readings from Jack's interface, her face grim. "Something's wrong," she told Lisa quietly. "These patterns, they're not entirely human anymore." When the Nightmare returned to base 3 hours later, the team rushed to meet their hero. But when Jack emerged from the ship, they fell silent. His eyes had changed. They were darker, with strange flecks of silver that seemed to move when he blinked. More disturbing was the ship itself. The hull, once a patchwork of different metals, had somehow changed. The sections had merged together more completely, and strange patterns had formed on the surface, patterns that looked disturbingly like neural pathways in a human brain. As Jack walked past his cheering teammates, only Emma noticed how his movements had changed, becoming more fluid, more predatory. And only Emma saw how, when Jack thought no one was looking, he reached back to touch the Nightmare's hull with an expression that looked almost like longing. In the 3 weeks since the destruction of the Dominion cruiser, everything had changed. The once secret forge had become a buzzing center of activity. Word had spread through hidden human networks about the ship that had taken down a Dominion cruiser. Volunteers poured in, engineers, pilots, soldiers, all eager to join the fight. But no one was allowed near the Nightmare itself. It sat in a separate chamber, guarded not by humans, but by automated systems Jack had designed. No one questioned this arrangement. No one except Emma. She stood in her lab, studying the latest scans of Jack's brain. The patterns were unlike anything she had seen before, neural pathways rewiring themselves, new connections forming where none should exist. "How bad is it?" Lisa asked, joining her at the display. Emma sighed. "I don't know. His brain activity is off the charts, but he's functioning better than ever. His reaction time, memory, problem solving, all enhanced." "Then maybe it's not a problem," Lisa suggested. "Maybe it's evolution." "It's not evolution when it happens overnight," Emma replied sharply. "And it's not just Jack. The ship is changing too." Before Lisa could respond, alarms blared throughout the base. They rushed to the main control room, where Marcus was directing operations. "Dominion fleet incoming," he announced. 12 ships, including a dreadnought. "They're heading straight for us." "How did they find us?" Tom demanded. "They didn't," Marcus replied. "They're conducting a sweep of the entire region. But they'll detect us soon enough." All eyes turned to Jack, who stood silently in the corner. In the weeks since the battle, he had spoken less and less, spending most of his time with the Nightmare. "Jack." Emma stepped toward him. "We need to evacuate." Jack shook his head, his silver-flecked eyes reflecting the red emergency lights. "No. They're hunting us now. If we run, they'll never stop." "We can't fight a dreadnought," Tom argued. "That thing carries enough firepower to glass half a continent." A cold smile crossed Jack's face. "The Nightmare can fight it. We're stronger now." Emma noticed how he said "we" instead of "it" when referring to the ship. She tried one more time. "Jack, your neural readings are dangerously unstable. Another deep connection could permanently damage your brain." "Or complete the process," Jack replied cryptically. Before anyone could stop him, he turned and walked toward the Nightmare's chamber. The doors opened at his approach, then sealed behind him. In the control room, screens lit up as the Nightmare systems came online. "He's launching," Marcus reported, his voice tight with tension. Emma rushed to the neural monitoring station. "Jack, please, at least let us monitor your vitals during the fight." There was a long pause before Jack's voice came through the speakers. It sounded different, deeper, with a strange harmonic quality. "Very well, Emma. For you." The mountain doors opened, and the Nightmare rose into the night sky. Emma gasped when she saw it on the external cameras. The ship had changed dramatically. Its hull was now a seamless black surface that seemed to bend light around it. The weapons systems had integrated more completely into the structure, like natural extensions rather than added components. "My God," Tom whispered. "What is it becoming?" High above Earth, the Dominion fleet moved in a standard search pattern. The dreadnought, a massive vessel the size of a small city, formed the center of their formation. Smaller ships circled it, their sensors scanning the planet below. Inside the Nightmare, Jack connected to the neural interface. This time, there was no resistance, no sense of separation between himself and the ship. They flowed together like water mixing with water. The Nightmare approached the fleet from below, visible only as a slight distortion against the stars. Its new hull didn't just absorb energy, it bent it, creating a camouflage effect that made the ship nearly invisible. In the lead scout ship, a Dominion sensor operator noticed something unusual, a momentary shadow that shouldn't exist. Before he could report it, the Nightmare struck. Unlike the previous battle, there was no hesitation, no learning curve. The Nightmare tore through the first scout ship before its crew could even raise shields. The second and third followed in rapid succession, their debris creating a cloud that confused the remaining ship's sensors. In the Forge's control room, Emma and the team watched in stunned silence. The neural readings from Jack showed activity in parts of the brain that should have been impossible. "He's not fighting like a human," Marcus observed. "Those maneuvers, that precision, it's like watching a machine." "Or something else entirely," Emma whispered. The Dominion fleet broke formation, trying to surround the attacker that they could barely detect. The dreadnought launched fighters, filling space with small, agile craft. The Nightmare moved among them like a shark through schools of fish, destroying fighters with short, precise energy bursts. Each kill made the ship stronger, as if it were absorbing energy from its victims. Finally, only the dreadnought remained. It fired its main cannon, a beam of concentrated energy that could split a planet's crust. The Nightmare didn't dodge. It met the beam head-on. For a moment, Emma thought the ship had been destroyed. Then the sensors showed something impossible. The Nightmare had absorbed the energy blast and was using it to power its own weapons. The dreadnought never had a chance. The Nightmare tore it apart piece by piece, methodically destroying weapons, engines, and finally life support. As the massive ship died, Jack broadcast a message on all Dominion frequencies. "You thought us primitive. You gave us your scraps and expected gratitude. Now you face what we built from your trash. We are the Nightmare you created." The message repeated in every Dominion language, ensuring they all understood. Back at the Forge, the control room was silent as the Nightmare returned. Everyone had seen what it could do, what Jack could do. The line between hero and monster had never seemed so thin. When the ship landed, Emma was the first to approach. The chamber doors opened, and Jack emerged. He was changed. His skin was pale, with dark veins visible beneath. His eyes were now completely silver, reflecting light like mirrors. When he moved, it was with an inhuman grace. "Jack." Emma's voice shook slightly. "Are you still in there?" Jack tilted his head, studying her as if from a great distance. Then his expression softened. "Yes, Emma. Part of me is still Jack Reed." He looked back at the Nightmare, its hull seeming to pulse in sync with his heartbeat. "But I am more now. We are more." "What happens next?" she asked. Jack smiled, and for a moment, Emma could see the man she had known. Then the alien coldness returned to his eyes. "The Dominion has many worlds, Emma. Many ships, many resources." He turned to look at the assembled humans. "They will come in greater numbers now, afraid of what they don't understand, afraid of what they created." He placed a hand on the Nightmare's hull, and the metal seemed to flow slightly toward his touch. "We will be waiting, and we will show them what humanity can build from trash." As Jack spoke, Emma noticed something on the ship's hull, patterns forming and dissolving, like thoughts made visible. And for the first time, she understood that the Nightmare wasn't just a ship anymore. It was something new, born from human ingenuity and alien technology, fueled by human rage and alien power. Neither fully machine nor fully alive, but a Nightmare given form, and it was only the beginning.